بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف وجعلنا من أعوانه وأنصاره. The hadith with which I would like to start our session today is again from the tafsir of Imam Askari alayhi salam. And this is about what Amirul Mu'minin alayhi salam said about the people who have dedicated their life to learning and then teaching. Man kana min shi'atina aliman bi shari'atina. Whoever from our Shia who knows our code of law, our religion, our teachings about what people should do and shouldn't do. So he has the knowledge. فَأَخْرَجَ ضُعَفَاءَ شِيعَتِنَا مِنْ ظُلْمَةِ جَهْلِهِمْ إِلَى نُورِ الْعِلْمِ الَّذِي حَبَوْنَاهُ بِهِ. Then he takes weak Shia, is those Shia who might be financially strong, who might be physically strong, but in their faith, in their knowledge, in their understanding, they are in need of help. They are da'if, they are weak in their faith. So he takes those weak Shia from darkness of ignorance to the light of the knowledge that we have given them. Habawnahu bihi, the knowledge, the light of knowledge that we have given them. جاء يوم القيامة على رأسه تاج من نور. On the day of judgment, this alim comes and on his head is a crown of light. يضيء لأهل تلك العرصات. And that crown of light will shine and will illuminate for all people who are in that plane of mahshar. وَعَلَيْهِ حُلَّةٌ لَا يَقُومُ لَأَقَلِّ سِلْكٍ مِنْهَا الدُّنْيَا بِحَظَافِيرِهَا. And he has a dress, a special dress. Hulla is a dress that, for example, a king gives to his, close people, a dress of honor. So this alim, in addition to having the crown of light, would have a dress of honor that for the smallest part of that dress, you cannot get it by giving the whole dunya. Because that dress is not a material dress. And anything which is not material, you cannot compare it with anything which is material. Yeah? So, for example, how much from dunya you can give to take an apple from Jannah? An apple from Jannah has no material value. So if you give millions of dollars, you cannot buy an apple of Jannah. Yes, you can transform your money into a currency that would be useful in akhirah, then with that you can buy apple there. But with the money of dunya, no. If the money of dunya is given as charity, as sadaqah, and is transformed into the currency which is good for that dunya, then you can do something. Otherwise, with millions of dollars, you cannot buy even one apple of heaven. ثُمَّ يُنَادِي مُنَادٍ. Then a call will be made. You know, when a great person comes to a gathering to acknowledge his presence, they mention that, you know, such a person is here with us. We have the honor of having this person. They introduce him. They talk about his achievements. So this alim is so important that there would be a kind of acknowledgement. A munadi, a person will call and say, هَذَا عَالِمٌ مِنْ بَعْضِ تَلَامِذَةِ آلِ مُحَمَّدٍ صلى الله عليه وسلم. This alim is one of the students of Ahlul Bayt. One of the students of Ali Muhammad. It's a great honor if someone is considered as Tilmiz of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, as Tilmiz of Imam Baqir alayhi salam. It's the greatest honor that if they accept someone, that he's our student. In Islamic education, sometimes I say this, you know, to people in Hosea, other places, and maybe also in some other traditions, especially in some maybe spiritual also traditions. Knowledge is not something that comes separate from teacher. You know, for example, now, if you have done a degree in medicine, chemistry, maths, they don't mind, you know, whether your teacher was a good teacher or not. Even sometimes it's not important which university you have studied. Sometimes it's important, but if your university is, you know, very top university, it's important. Otherwise, it's not important. As long as you have that certificate and you can work with this, you know, you can find a job, that's it. But in Islamic education, you are not only expected to learn and to be able to prove yourself scientifically, but you are very much judged on your teacher. Who was your teacher? Teacher is part of the identity of the student. Unfortunately, this is in modern education, this is disappearing, but in our model of education, it's very important. In the same way that if there is a child that we don't know who is his father or mother, we are, you know, worried. Who is this child that is unknown? If someone says, I am very learned, ask me questions, you know, I can pass tests, but I had no teacher. Say, sorry. Without teacher, you are like a tree without roots. Because through your teacher, and your teacher through his teacher, and that through his teacher, you get connected to the roots of knowledge which are Muhammad and Ali Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Up to very recent, it was very common that for every book that you wanted to teach, you wanted to cite from, you had ijazah, you had permission. If you read the beginning of 40 hadiths of Imam Khomeini, he mentions that he quotes, for example, from Kafi by Kulaini because he has permission from his teacher, and then he mentioned the teacher of his teacher. Then you can see the chain of all the masters of hadith between him and Kulaini. This is not just a kind of formality. This shows connection. This connection has academic aspect, but more than that, it has a spiritual aspect. So, if you want to really learn and benefit from the spring of the knowledge of Ahlul Bayt, you have to do it through the channels from which that water of hikmah comes, that water of knowledge comes. And those are our ulama. Through them, we get connected to Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Imam Kazim alayhi salam said something very, very beautiful in hadith to Hisham ibn Hakam. It's in beginning of Al-Kafi, Kitab al-Aql wal-Jah. There is a beautiful hadith about intellect. One sentence that I want to mention is this. La ilma illa an alimin rabbani. La ilma illa an alimin rabbani. There is no knowledge except what it comes from a godly scholar. So you cannot teach yourself this type of knowledge. You can learn terminology, you can learn many concepts, but this kind of knowledge, which is light, has to come from a person who has received light from another person. And the example that I use is this. If you have a candle, those who smoke, maybe they understand it better with cigarettes, but I use the example of candle. If you have a candle and you want to put on fire on this candle, what do you need? You need another candle which is already burning to come and touch this. This sacred touch is very important. If you bring the other candle close, but there is no touch, if you show it or show the picture, doesn't work. Show the movie, doesn't work. If you increase the heat of the room, make the room very hot, doesn't work. There has to be another candle which already has fire and comes and touches this. This touch is very important. So, la ilma illa an alimin rabbani. There is no knowledge except that it comes from a godly scholar. You may say, where is godly scholar that I find? Okay, appreciate what you have, use your available scholars, inshallah, then you get to that stage that you would have also access to a godly scholar. So, he would be called هذا عالم من بعض تلامذة آل محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. He is a scholar who is a tilmiz, a student of Ahlul Bayt. ألا فمن أخرجه في الدنيا من حيرة جهله فليتشبث بنوره. Whoever has been taken out from darkness by this alim in dunya, now can come and benefit from the light of this alim. So whoever has benefited from his alim, this alim, from his guidance, has been taken from darkness to light, فَلْيَتَشَبَّث, can now hold on to his light. لِيُخْرَجَهُ مِنْ حَيْرَةِ ظُلْمَةِ هَذِهِ الْعَرَصَاتِ إِلَى نُزْهِ الْجِنَانِ. So that now he take him from darkness of this plane to the comfort and joy and pleasure of heaven. فَيُخْرِجُ كُلَّ مَنْ كَانَ عَلَّمَهُ فِي الدُّنْيَا خَيْرًا. Any person that this alim has taught him something good in dunya would be taken out. He picks up among people everyone who has learned from him. أو فتح عن قلبه من الجهل قفلا, or he has unlocked from the heart of that person the lock of jahl. So when someone is ignorant, the heart is locked. Anyone in dunya that this alim has opened and unlocked his heart, now he goes and picks up that person and takes him with him. أو أوضح له عن شبهة, or any person that had a very difficult time in understanding, he was puzzled, he was confused, he has clarified for him, now he goes and takes them to heaven. So we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to first preserve for us our ulama and increase inshallah their number and enable us inshallah to be always in company of true ulama inshallah. As you know, today we talk inshallah about Imamah, which is unit 4 of the book. In the end of the previous unit, we talked about the plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for guidance of humanity. And we said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided humanity with guidance through prophets. He has sent prophets to all nations. لَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا. To all nations he has sent prophets. To all languages prophets have spoken. مَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِنْ رَسُولٍ إِلَّا بِاللِّسَانِ قَوْمِهِ. They spoke with the people in their language. And then we said, because in the past communication was not easy, because the books were not preserved, because there were many changes and people were not that capable of being given general principles and draw out of those general principles what they have to do in varying conditions. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kept sending prophets. But a time came that humanity was able to receive through Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam the final and most complete message of God. To receive is very important. To preserve is also very important. Since then, we have the Quran as the final revelation intact. Nothing is missing from the Quran. What remains is understanding. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has guaranteed that the Quran will be preserved. إِنَّا نَحْنُ نَزَّلْنَا الذِّكْرَ وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. We have sent this reminder and we are going to protect it. But what has not been protected and what has not been guaranteed, actually we are warned about, is misinterpretation, misunderstanding. This is why we need to have people who would continue the task of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not in receiving revelation, no, that task finished, in teaching. We need teachers. We don't need any more revelation to come. We don't need any more prophet to come. We need infallible teachers. Because, as you know, the life of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam for prophethood was only 23 years. He was 40 when he became prophet. He passed away when he was 63. Only 23 years. Even these 23 years were not 23 years of, a person who is relaxed and, offers courses, and trains people. First of all, there were periods that he had to keep very quiet. For 3 years, it was very secret. After 3 years, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked the Prophet to start with his kinship. وَأَنذِرْ عَشِيرَتَكَ الْأَقْرَبِينَ, to start preaching his relatives. Then the Prophet started preaching public, but in very, very difficult situations. 13 years in Mecca, as you know, full of challenges, full of problems, sanctions, tortures, killing, confiscating properties of Muslims, very, very difficult. And when they went to Medina, again, things were not easy, because establishing a community and being responsible for worldly and religious affairs of life of people is not easy. Plus, you have enemies who are very insistent on destroying Islam, so they impose lots of wars on the Prophet. And there are hypocrites inside Medina. So there are lots of problems. So these 23 years were full of challenges and full of difficulties, and were not enough for the Prophet to teach everything to people. Also, those people were not very learned people, very educated people. You know, today, when our ulama want to become a good scholar, they study 30, 40 years. Our Maraja, maybe 50, 60 years, they have been studying and teaching and doing research. And we have lots of books, we have lots of teachers, we have methodology, we have sciences developed. How was possible for the Prophet to train those people who were not even able to read and write in 23 years? Plus, many issues were not yet applicable. When Islam grew, and when Islam came into contact with lots of cultures, with lots of traditions, with Greek philosophy, Iranian philosophy and mysticism, Indian spirituality, so many things came to the world of Islam that needed explanation and needed Islamic, interpretation. So we have a period after the Prophet in which we have infallible presentation of Islam, infallible teaching of Islam through Imams. So from year 10, Imamah in this sense, in the sense of successor to the Prophet, started, and this goes on till 260, when Imam al-Zaman becomes Imam, and then even from 260 to 329, we have minor occultation. Still, we have someone who can take question from people to Imam and bring the answer. So even these 69 years, we have some kind of access to the Imam. So now, this period of 319 years, from 10 to 329, okay? So we have 319 extra years compared to other Muslims. Other Muslims, after the Prophet, they don't have any infallible teaching. Therefore, they have lots of gaps. And what added to the problem was also that, unfortunately, they banned narration of hadith. They said you should not narrate hadith of the Prophet, you should not write the hadith of the Prophet, you should not compile the hadith of the Prophet. There was a ban on narrating hadith exercised by the first caliph, the second caliph, and the third caliph. So this also added to the problem. So even all the hadiths of the Prophet were not preserved. But even if they had all the hadiths of the Prophet, 23 years compared to 319 plus 23 of the Prophet. So our situation is much, much better, alhamdulillah. We have so many hadiths, alhamdulillah, thousands of hadiths, that we can understand what is Islamic ruling. And if there are cases that we don't have direct ruling, we have some practical principles, al-usul al-amaliyya, that can help us even in those cases. These are things that we study in Usul al-Fiqh. So, Imamah for us is more than anything a matter of continued guidance and continued teaching of Islam. But in addition to that, there are many other aspects to Imamah. For example, we are in need of role models. We are in need of examples that we can wholeheartedly follow. And Imams are the Hujjah of Allah. By looking at them, by listening to them, we can understand what would be the will of Allah. There is a beautiful expression in Ziyarat al-Yasin that to this day, I think it gives you the best explanation of the meaning of Hujjah. What is Hujjah? In Ziyarat al-Yasin it says, Assalamu alayka ya hujjatallahi wa dalila iradatihi. Peace be upon you, O the Hujjah of Allah, and the sign of the will of God. So Hujjah is something or someone. It can be something, it can be someone that tells you what Allah wants from you. By referring to that Hujjah, you understand what should you do, what should you believe, what should you say, because that's the sign of the will of God. In the same Ziyarat al-Yasin, also there is a good explanation of Khalifatullah. Assalamu alayka ya Khalifatallahi wa nasira haqqihi. Peace be upon you, O Khalifatullah, and the helper of Allah in His rights. So He helps Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's right to be observed and implemented. So we need Hujjah, and we have hadith. For example, in the book you find this hadith from Ilal al-Shara'i by Sheikh Saduq Rizwanullah ta'ala alayh. Law khalat al-ardu. The famous quotation is لولا الحجة لصاخت الأرض بأهلها. That's very famous. What I have found is this from Sheikh Saduq. لو خلت الأرض طرفة عين من حجة لصاخت بأهلها. Were it not for the presence of the Hujjah, the earth would have swallowed its people up. So it's not possible to have the earth without the Hujjah of Allah, because it's the Hujjah of Allah that acts as a source of safety and security. Aman is the source of security and is the channel for mercy of Allah and blessing of Allah to come down. Then I started in this unit talking about some concepts in the Quran which refer to Imamah, and after that some hadith which refer to Imamah. So if we quickly review those concepts that refer to Imamah, the very first thing that I have mentioned here is that every nation on the Day of Judgment will be called to join its leader. Chapter 17, verse 71. يَوْمَ نَدْعُو كُلَّ أُنَاسٍ بِإِمَامِهِمْ. The day we call every people, every group, to join their Imam. Imam here doesn't mean necessarily good Imam. It can be good Imam, it can be bad Imam. As you know, in Quran, we have جَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَدْعُونَ إِلَى النَّارِ. We have Imams who call people towards hell. We have Imams who call people towards guidance. Because Imam is leader. What is important is, on the Day of Judgment, people will be first resurrected as individuals. In the lectures on Wilaya, we have explained this on collective nature of Wilaya. That first people are resurrected as individuals. لَقَدْ جِئْتُمُونَا فُرَادًا. You come as individuals. كُلٌّ آتِيَ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ فَرْدًا. Everyone comes as individual. So, first, we are resurrected as individuals. Then we will call to assemble. On what basis? On the basis of who was your Imam. Every group of people will be asked to join their Imam, their leader. يَوْمَ نَدْعُ كُلَّ أُنَاسٍ بِإِمَامِهِمْ. If you refer to the lecture about collective nature of Wilaya, it's also published as paper. You have references, for example, from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, in which he says, on the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will call every group of people to join their leader. We will join Rasulullah. You will join us. And then he asks, إِلَىٰ أَيْنَ تَرَوْنَ يُذْهَبُ بِكُمْ. Where do you think you will be taken? If you join us and we join Rasulullah, where will you be taken? إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ وَرَبِّ الْكَعْبَةِ. قَالَهَا ثَلَاث مَرَّاتٍ. 3 times he said, to heaven by the Lord of Kaaba. If we manage, of course, this is not a matter of claiming a name, it's a matter of reality. If we manage to reach our Imams on the day of judgment, then the rest is okay. Just that period when you are resurrected as individual till you join your group, that's the main thing. Imagine like if you bring people to, for example, Arafat or Mina and just leave them and say, find your leader. There are millions on the day of judgment, billions of people. Find your Imam. There must be something in you that takes you to the Imam. There must be a kind of similarity, a kind of attraction that among all people you just go and find your own Imam and group. If we manage to join them, then inshallah we will go to heaven. As the Quran says, وَسِيغَ الَّذِينَ تَقَوْا رَبَّهُمْ إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ زُمَرًا. People who are pious will be led as groups, not as individuals, as groups to heaven. And those who have followed Fir'aun or Namrud, they also will go with them. سِيغَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا إِلَى جَهَنَّمَ زُمَرًا. They will also go as groups. So this shows how important it is to be part of a community. Even on Akhirah, we should be part of community. We should not be alone. So the first concept is the concept of joining Imam on the day of judgment as the one that gives you identity, and your destiny depends on joining the Imam on the day of judgment. Shall we have a break or I continue? We can have a break and then inshallah we continue. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin.